Hola, ¿qué tal? Soy Dani Mantilla y estamos aquí en Valladolid, en la Seminci, en este maravilloso Teatro Calderón, donde estamos hablando con talento nacional e internacional, como es el caso de este director vietnamita, Truong Minh Quy. Welcome to Valladolid.
Thank you.
Está aquí presentando la película Viet and Nam en la sección Punto de encuentro y ha pasado por Cannes, por Toronto, por Nueva York y ahora por la Seminci. How has been traveling with this film around the world? Because it's a really political, a really poetical as well film about your country.
How is that?
How has been traveling around the world and talking to people
Uh-huh.
about this film and their interpretations of this movie?
Well, I think yeah, of course, this film is about the history of the country, but I think people don't really need to understand that historical part so much to enjoy the film,
Mhm.
because eventually I think the film is a cinematic form, it's a language, so it still can convey different emotions without knowing the history.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think one of the very meaningful part for me to when I travel with the film is that when I can talk to a lot of Vietnamese people
Mhm.
who live in different countries, and uh, most of them told me that the film made them feel homesick. So I think is a very meaningful feedback. Yeah.
Mhm. You have done a few shorts before. They also talk about memory and your country. Why do you feel this responsibility or this desire to talk so much about historical memory? Because it's a theme that has been discussed a lot here in Spain as well, with the Civil War and how we tackle that. Why is it so important for you as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think I like because when you use the term responsibility,
Hmm.
because I think for a filmmaker, for an artist, we always feel this responsibility towards something that we don't know fully yet. In this case, the history or the stories of the other people of the past. Yeah, and how we can try to use in this case filmmaking, to look at that unknown story. Um, I think at the same time I feel a responsibility to do something about that, to respond to that. And also I think filmmaking is to make a film is also to free ourselves, myself,
Hmm.
from that responsibility. So I think it's go like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I made Viet and Nam out of that spiritual responsibility, I may say, but also the end purpose for me inside is to free me artistically and spiritually
Hmm.
from that burden of the past. Yeah.
And when did you and how did you come up with the idea of telling the story through the lens of a queer couple, Viet and Nam, that also they are representing your country? It's like an allegory.
Um, well, I think it's natural for me to tell a gay love story. Yeah, and there's no question about that. And in the film, I would like to tell their love in a very natural way, so natural that it becomes almost normal in the film. Uh, uh, so I think the audience can think that their love story or even their names, uh, are the representation for the country. Uh, I think the audience can think like that, but I would like the audience to also not think like that at the same time. This duality, because it's very interesting because in the film, in the whole film, we don't know their names. They
Hmm.
never be called by their names. We don't know who they are. We only can guess. Actually, we only can guess by the title that they are named like that, Nam and Vic in the
Hmm.
film. So there is still a gap of being uh, being free or being unknown, you know. So because I think if we only take that the story as the representation of the country,
Mhm.
it limit a lot the joy of watching the film. Yeah.
You were talking about having the possibility, like to have a gap,
Yeah.
so the spectator can feel it.
Hmm.
I read that you filmed the Viet and Nam in 60 millimeters, and you couldn't have a monitor, and you didn't want to have a monitor. Did you also like to have freedom in your set, like not be so conditioned by what you're seeing in a small screen?
Yeah. Yes, sure. Look, we have so many cameras here, you see. So it's it's the controlling you know, I guess people are crazy about control all the frames. So while we film this film, we only have one camera, super 16 camera, and then the monitor we have. The monitor but very small,
Mhm.
like this, and it's only to check the frame. We cannot see any color, you know, we cannot see any lighting because the quality of the monitor is so bad, and we cannot play back. So it's only to check the frame before we shoot.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think strangely shooting in this way is quite free. Yeah, because you don't know, you cannot control, you don't see again what you shot. So you sometimes directors, you know, they are crazy about one
Mhm.
centimeter of the object, this kind of thing. So so for me, it's more about trusting the director of photography.
Mhm.
So I have to trust in him about the lighting, about the yeah, everything, because we have to make sure that what we have is what I want.
Mhm.
Uh, um, but for the whole crew, you know, in Vietnam, this is the first time that they worked on Super 16 millimeter film on film.
Mhm.
So most of them were very excited, and I think because of that excitement and because of not having able to watch the screen on set, it freed them a lot. Um, but what's beautiful about film is that uh, I always have the image in my head, you know, in my memory
Mhm.
about the scene, and of course I only can see the rush, the footage, like 1 week
Mhm.
after
Mhm.
or 5 days after, and during that time everyone was excited and a bit nervous to wait for the footage. And when we receive the footage, it's always looked more beautiful than in my
Mhm.
memories. Yeah.
And what was on about the sound? Because it's really impressive, and I guess that the film is a small production, but the sound is amazing. How was achieving that quality, and why was it so important for you in this precise story?
Yeah, I think the sound is is very, how to say it, it opens um, a different image for us in this film because the frame is very limited.
Hmm.
There's a lot of darkness in the film, and we only see a limited frame, you know, but we hear a lot of things around. So this is a way for me to evoke this imagination of the
Hmm.
audience, but also because of the budget, you know, because like in the coal mine, it's very dark. We cannot show a lot of different activities in the coal mines, you know, but we use the darkness with the sound design to evoke the image in the head of the audience. And yeah, I think the sound in this film is very immersive. It's quite different from the way the image is formed because the image is quite uh, flat, you know,
Hmm.
the framing is quite direct,
Hmm.
it's very close, but the sound is opened. And this contrast is very interesting. And that's why this film, I think, is very important to see in the cinema because of the sound. You only can get that feeling in the cinema, and also because of the image, because the film is one of the main visual elements of the film is darkness,
Hmm.
and when you see it on the computer, you cannot get that. Yeah.
Hmm. How important was in making this film the presence of labs of project markets? Because sometimes I've been talking with filmmakers, for example, Rita Acevedo Gomez, the Portuguese filmmaker. She's a veteran director, and she's like not a very big fan because she feels sometimes that they are like too guided. What was the experience for you while prep about working with laboratories
Uh-huh.
and project markets?
You mean the lab?
Yes, you were in Rotterdam, for
Yeah, yeah,
example.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
how did that shape the film?
Uh, so I didn't. Yeah, at the beginning in the development,
Hmm.
yeah, we were in Rotterdam Cinemart, and but it was not a uh, was it a bitchin? Yeah, I think that's the only one lab that
Hmm.
we attended. Yeah, I could understand that it could be tiring to beat your film, uh, laugh after laugh.
Hmm.
So in this film, for this film, luckily we only do that once.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, um, yeah, and I don't like that either.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was really interesting that Viet and Nam was made, thank you, to 8 different countries.
Uh-huh.
How was having so many cooks in the chicken in the kitchen?
Well, I think this is a usual production form of international art house movie,
Hmm.
like a film from Vietnam or from uh, the countries in the region, you know, uh, because we don't have the support from the state, like the
Hmm.
Vietnam. So the only way to make film is to find the international funds from France, Netherlands, Singapore, the Philippines, Germany, because of course we need so many countries because one fund is not enough. Yeah, and this way of co-production, of course, it is very good because yeah, you work with different countries,
Hmm.
different technicians, different people, but also it could bring a lot of problems of
Hmm.
communication. Yeah.
And you have been living abroad in Belgium, in France. How has been the challenge of talking about your country from afar, in a way? Despite you shoot the film back in
Yeah.
Vietnam, but how is that relationship of the artist that lives and goes
Mhm.
back to talk about
So,
Vietnam?
uh, yeah, to correct, I'm still living in Vietnam.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
ah,
but
okay.
but now I'm in France and Vietnam at the same time. So I travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not living in Europe like for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
actually. Um, but yeah, at the beginning of Viet and Nam, when I was writing the film, I was in France.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's true that even though I was just in France for a short time, and but to write about a film that happens in Vietnam, not in Vietnam, when I was in France, the distance actually, yeah, it, it contributed to something internally strange because with the distance actually um, it evokes a lot of memories in you,
Mm-hmm.
many stories in
Mm-hmm.
you that I doubt that if I was in Vietnam, maybe it will not be that strong. The story of the memories. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
The film made the news before Cannes because it was forbidden in your country. Don't you think it's like, in a way, good for the film because now it's being much more talked about, and in a way it's like the Streisand effect, like you don't want them to talk about something and then you make them talk about something.
Yeah.
You have been traveling. We were saying that at the beginning of the interview. We are here in Valladolid.
Hmm.
The film was in Toronto. You were in New York, in Cannes.
Hmm.
How do you
Well,
relate to that?
I think
Yep.
if I can wish,
Hmm.
of course, I want the film not to be banned in Vietnam
Yeah.
because, of course, I think it's too meaningful to have a film seen in Vietnam.
Hmm.
But of course, I cannot change the past, and and I think the film travel much like this. I think, uh, of course, I think it had to come from the quality of the film.
Hmm.
Yeah, and of course the band. I mean, I cannot talk about that because I don't. I'm not the one who decide. But it's one thing is true that that I hope that the Vietnam cinema department will realize one thing, that the more they ban something, the more people will talk about it. So the best way, not because their purpose is at the end they don't want the film to be seen, right? So at the beginning they shouldn't ban that film, because if they don't ban, nobody will know. So they should realize that tricky intellectual function. Yeah.
And we live now in the 21st century,
Yeah,
not
and it's not
not last century. If you want to
it's
see a
yeah.
film, you are going to watch
Yeah,
that
eventually
film.
it's no use to ban because people will watch it. Yeah.
It's the same with the film with Mohammad Rasulov, that it was for, well, he had to flee Iran, and then he's going to be in the Oscars with Germany. It's like right now.
But I think for a filmmaker to have a film be banned in
Yeah.
his or her own country, I think deep inside it's hurtful.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it shouldn't be like that. Yeah.
No, it should be like that, really. You're working now in a new short film about a 73-year-old woman with a gay son. Is it right? No, I read it.
Long time ago.
How long time ago? Okay.
Yeah.
And are you working on a new film?
Some ideas, yeah. There's a documentary that is going on. It's shooting now, and then maybe I will write my script soon. Yeah, for
Because
next film.
this is your first fiction film, kind.
Yeah, we can say that.
Yep.
I don't mind if it's first or second or third. Because but the festival and the industry, they like to
To
categorize you.
to label
Yeah,
things.
to label things. Yeah.
But I read that you liked working with actors through action, not emotion. Why?
Yes, it's true. Like when I find, like when I was searching for the actors,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't search for experience in acting. I search for the sensitivity, that's already there. Like when you and me meet, for
Hmm.
the first time, we can feel something about each other, and I think it's something that's very uh, uh, real that
Hmm.
we have to keep, that I have to keep, and then if that feeling about that person match the character, so yeah, I will work from that, yeah, and
Hmm.
I guess emotion, it's hard to apply that to non-professional actors, yeah, because the way we understand about emotion is different from them.
Hmm.
I think everyone have different imagination, different concept of what is sad, what is happy. We think that we just tell them be sad, they can be sad, but no, it's not like that. It's more complex like that.
Hmm.
It's about reality, about the presence, about the feeling, about the past of somebody, their life. Yeah.
There's a lot of debate right now in Spain with film schools because all of them are private and they cost a lot of money, and there's like a class thing because people with less money it's for them it's more difficult to access these studies. I read that you quit film school. Why? And what was your experience there?
I think I was 20 back then when I
Hmm.
decided to quit film school in the second year.
Hmm.
I think sadly because of course to be in the film school is what my dream when I was young, 18 years old, and I went there for 1 year and a half, and then I realized uh, it just took so much of my time for nothing. Yeah, and then I think it's difficult that decision, but I made it, and I think because uh, the only thing I want is to make film, and I think to be in film school, it will, how to say, delay that or make you feel, yeah, so much things to decide. So I had decided to quit film school so that I only have one choice,
Hmm.
that is making film. Yeah, and I think it's right. Yeah,
You learn how to make a film, making a film.
yeah, yeah, and watching films. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy Valladolid and good luck with Viet and Nam. It's a really powerful film. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Seguimos aquí en Seminci con más entrevistas en kinótico.es. La primera con K, la segunda con C. Gracias.